how are we bridging the gap between when we're allowed to call ourselves that particular thing that we don't necessarily feel qualified to say, and what's the threshold point as to when we can say it? Like,
I feel like once you get paid to do it.
That's the threshold?
For me. Like, I remember in college when I was doing plays, I felt like, well, yeah, I'm an actor. I'm a theater major. Like, this is what I do. And this is, this is what I'm in college to do, right? Mm-hmm. But when I booked my first theater show and got paid, I was like,
I've arrived.
I then said, I'm a professional actor. Like, it was different.
Welcome to Spaghetti on the Wall, where we throw ideas, see what sticks, and nurture those that do. I'm your host, Armando Leduc, an actor, entrepreneur, and coach, giving you insights that light up your world. We're here to explore the realms of business, marketing, and life, serving up a shot of inspiration with every episode. Ready to make ideas stick and grow them into something great? Let's dive in. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on when you're consuming this podcast. Spaghetti on the Wall, we're back with another one, and a very special one indeed, because it's number 200. 200. And what's been cool is that the wifey over here, Shauna Rappold Leduc, Shauna Elizabeth Rappold Leduc. She was my first podcast. Oh. She was my 100th. And she was my 200th. You have to behave on the show. I'm just kidding. You don't. Welcome.
Hi. Good to see you.
I always enjoy the podcast with you because it's different conversation, right, than we usually have. Because we're not...
Like at home.
At home,
sure,
right?
Sure.
Or whatever, or even on date night, because it's like an interview, and it's never like, I'm never interviewing my wife, but I'm interviewing today.
Yes.
And I have some things that I want to talk about.
Oh. I plead the fifth.
And I want to talk about imposter syndrome. I want to talk about the entertainment industry. I want to talk about living authentically and all of this good stuff. So before we get into all of that, tell the viewers, just give me a 2-minute backstory on how you got here.
I was not prepared to give a 2-minute on how I got to the office
right now.
Got on I-10. I missed my exit, so I was late for this interview.
All right, moving on.
How I got to what? Because, right, like how I got to be a wife, how I got to be a mom, how I got to be an actor, how I got to be a singer, how I got to be, how I got to be what? That's a loaded question.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. Let's just break it down into how did you, and we'll talk about entertainment specifically because now your life has changed. Being mom, being a band manager, singer, actress, and your life for a long time was pursuing the acting career.
Only, yeah.
Only 100%. That was your focus, and then you got rattled because you met me. Right, and then things
rattled.
Yeah, your the foundation got rocked, right?
I don't think that had anything to do with my acting career.
Well, I disrupted it.
You disrupted my life.
I did. I disrupted your life, which in turn also affected your acting career.
Sure.
So,
okay.
How did you give me the backstory on how you became an actress? And then I know the story from that point on.
How I became an actress? Mm-hmm. Oh, I mean, I've been acting my whole life. I think I did my first play when I was 7 years old. But if you ask my parents, I was acting way before that.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, I did my first play at 7. I did school plays. And then when I got old enough, I joined the CYO, and the CYO had yearly plays that entered into competitions. My older brother did that, Ryan. So I would do that.
What's CYO mean?
Catholic Youth Organization, because I went to a Catholic school.
Gotcha.
And then, so I did that in elementary school, and then in high school, I did theater. So I was in like all of the theater shows for all 4 years. College, I got my degree in performance theater. So I was always in a play in college. And then upon graduating, I booked my first film, which we've probably talked about.
We have. It's okay.
That I booked my first film at it was going to be filming at the same time that I was supposed to go to, where was I going?
A play?
No, but where?
Warbirds.
No, yes. It was, we had done the Heidi Chronicles, and we were taking the Heidi Chronicles to
Chicago.
No.
All right.
Like China or
yes, I remember
or
that.
somewhere.
Uh-huh.
We were going somewhere. Where did they go? I don't know. Well, I didn't end up going because I had an understudy, and I asked my whole cast. I was like, "Look, I booked my first movie. I'm a lead, but what would y'all do?" And they basically all gave me their blessing to do the film instead. So then I went to the dean of students, who happened to be the director, the dean of the theater department, who happened to be the director, who was taking us.
Not happy.
And he tried to sue me, but he didn't. But I'm pretty sure I was disowned by the theater department at that point. And ironically, this was the man, my very first year at LSU as a theater student, he taught improv to all of the incoming freshmen. And he asked me to have a meeting with him in his office, and I did. And he told me that I wasn't going to make it as an actor and I should switch majors. And then fast forward to my last year, not only did he cast me as a lead in his play, but a play that he was taking out of the country.
Why would somebody do that?
And then I book a lead in a film. So not only did he tell me my very first year that I wasn't going to make it as an actor, like I book a film as a lead right before I even graduated college. And I'm like, I'm not going to what?
There you go. Congratulations. So fast forward, 2014 we meet. I hear you sing on a recording with your dad. Mm-hmm. I think it was Ave Maria. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, she can sing. Mm-hmm. And then I get you, and I was like, you know what? You should come and audition for the band. And
No, that's not what happened. You didn't say I should come audition for the band. You were like, we've got a gig. Can you learn these like 10 songs in 2 days?
Is that how that went?
Oh, is that how it went? And I was like,
sounds about right.
What? And I had an enormous fear of singing in public, because what you heard was a recording, a studio recording that I wasn't in front of anyone. So of course I sounded amazing. And you're like, oh, learn these 10 songs in 2 or 3 days, and we're going to sing in front of 300 people. And I'm like, I thought I was going to die.
But you did it.
I did do it.
But you agreed.
Yeah.
Why did you agree?
Because I always wanted to sing in a band.
And you were like, this is my opportunity.
I saw it as my opportunity. So I did it.
And so I think that ties in really well with the conversation of imposter syndrome, right? And what prevents people from moving forward? Why is it that when somebody moves into a role, right? And I guess it's all like you're playing the role of band manager and singer, right? Like that's the role that you're playing. And
one of the roles.
And one of the roles, right? And so I feel like sometimes when you're imagining you playing that role, there's not you specifically, I'm just talking in general. I think when people have what I call imposter syndrome, or, this feeling of like there's a disconnect between who they think they are and who they're supposed to be playing, right? And so when you first started singing and you identified as an actress, right? You had gone to school, that's how you introduced yourself. Like, you were entrenched as an actress, and that was who you are, right? You are a singer now, but you didn't identify as a singer back then, right? Like,
well, no, because I wasn't doing it professionally.
Right. So was that?
So I can't identify as a teacher. I would be a great teacher.
But you've taught before.
I have.
You've taught before. My point in saying this is how are we bridging the gap between when we're allowed to call ourselves that particular thing that we don't necessarily feel qualified to say, and what's the threshold point as to when we can say it? Like,
I feel like once you get paid to do it,
that's the threshold
for me. Like, I remember like in school, in college, when I was doing plays, I felt like, well, yeah, I'm an actor. I'm a theater major. Like, this is what I do, and this is what I'm in college to do, right? Mm-hmm. But when I booked my first theater show and got paid, I was like,
I've arrived.
I then said, I'm a professional actor. Like, it was different. Like, I was always an actor because I had been acting since I was 7. But the first time I got paid to do it, I was like, I'm not just an actor anymore. I'm a professional actor.
I love that you said that, because it makes sense as to why people stop themselves from, I guess, moving into something because they're not necessarily being viewed as a professional, right? Or they're not being viewed as a high caliber person or a respected individual in that field, right? And so, for instance, if you're trying to create content for your company, mm-hmm. a lot of people have this imposter syndrome when it comes to who wants to listen to me? What do I have to say? Why does it feel so strange to put myself out there in this way, right? And how do I get over this feeling of not being adequate? You know what I mean? Or not.
I've only ever felt that one time, and it was not about singing. I just always had a fear. I tried to force myself to sing my entire life. Like, because I took voice classes, and every recital, I purposefully was like, I'm doing the recital, or I'm going to go do, because I felt like the more I would do it, I was like, surely one day I won't feel like I'm going to die or have a heart attack. So I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And like, I would get strep throat, or I would like lose my voice, or I would like my body would literally, and I never felt like I'm not good enough. It was just like this crazy fear. Like, my whole body would, and I don't know, but the only time I ever really felt that imposter syndrome, which is insane what I'm about to say, because if you really think about it, was right before I started teaching acting. I was like, who am I to teach kids
actors? Yeah,
how to be an actor? And everybody's like, well, you've been doing theater since you were 7. You got your degree in acting. You literally have a degree. And I was like, yeah, but I'm not. Why would so?
So it was the teaching for you.
It was the teaching.
It wasn't the doing.
It was like, why should they listen to what I have to say about being an actor? What do I know?
It's so funny now that you're saying how you would be getting strep throat and you'd be doing all of these things. Like,
but I would still do it.
But yeah, you would still do it. I remember driving you to Bourbon Street when you first got hired.
Yes.
bourbon. And you had been singing with that band for at least 6 months.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, and I knew somebody that was looking for a female singer. So I was like, oh yeah, you should,
connected,
you know, you
and
should
I
go
still
on Bourbon
did.
Street. But do you think that because shortly after had your tonsils removed, you had nodes removed, like
It was awful.
but
But
you're
it was
not,
something I really wanted to do.
but the thing is you're not experiencing any of those things now. And I wonder.
No, but I had infected tonsils.
Sure, I get it.
I don't have tonsils anymore.
No, but I'm saying,
to be removed.
But no, I know. But what I'm saying is like, you know, I wonder if that stress like created
No, that's not how science
things.
works.
Well, nodes, that's how it works.
No, I had those nodes since I was a child. I know why I had the nodes.
Because you were yelling.
I had really bad anxiety. And I didn't know how to handle it, and I wasn't telling anyone about it. So no one like knew that I was doing this, but I would like in college, I would go sit in my car and I would grab the steering wheel and literally scream at the top of my lungs
'Cause you were
until I
feeling
had
anxiety?
no energy left. And then that anxiety would pass, and then I'd be like, okay.
Wow.
I gave
Yeah, you gave yourself nodes.
myself, and it wasn't because of that. It was I was damaging myself.
hurt yourself.
And that's how I ended up getting into fitness, because I was like, exercise will help. And then like I would exercise every day, and then suddenly I didn't have all that anxiety. So I figured it out. But I did irreparable damage in the process. No, it didn't have anything to do with that. I think it was a vulnerable feeling. I felt so exposed singing. I think to me, and I guess other people don't necessarily feel the same way, to me, singing is as vulnerable as I will ever get. I still feel vulnerable when I sing.
Do you?
Oh, yeah. I don't get scared or nervous or whatever anymore, but I definitely feel exposed.
Huh.
Like naked.
Yeah, I remember for years we would have conversations about singing and what it was like, you know, and I would say, Shauna, you don't own your voice. And you were like, I don't know what that means. And I was like, I don't know how to explain it to you, but you don't own it.
Your voice. Yeah.
And there was a moment, it was like, it almost felt like it was like from one day to the next, that it was just like, there was a click and there was a shift, and it was like, there it is, right? Like you own your voice now. And you even had mentioned, you were like, I know what you're talking about now. Cause like, you know, you had a gig last weekend and you're like orchestrating it, you know, and you're telling people what they need to be doing. And the
singer that I was singing with, I won't name that person's name, 100% does not own their voice, and they need to find their voice. And once they find their voice, had a beautiful voice, but like was so uncomfortable on stage and didn't like, I was like, man, I wonder what this person's voice will sound like once they let go.
Yeah.
It's going to sound amazing.
Yeah.
It just takes time.
And the doing, like the reps.
It's stage time.
It's stage time.
Once this person gets the right amount of stage time for them, because it could be 10 more times, it could be 100 more times. I guess it depends on the person.
Yeah.
But that person's going to be amazing once they find their voice.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's a good topic about finding your voice and what that actually feels like when you're stepping into your own, right? Like whether you're an athlete, whether you're a surgeon, whether you're a lawyer or whoever, right? Like when you actually step into it, and it's almost like what you envision yourself to be meets all of the planning, stage time, you know, and creation. And all of a sudden it's just like you merge into that person. Right?
It's so frustrating in the process though, because I was working so hard, which is why I was like, I don't know what I'm doing everything you're telling me to do.
You did. I remember. It was like, yeah, I'm just.
And I was like, I've learned the music. I know, like, I practice every day. I do my vocal warm-ups. I do my, and I was like, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. You know, kudos to you for sticking it out. And I think that's something that I really admire about you is the stick-to-itness and like the tenacity of
Thank you.
Sticking to something. I don't, I think people forget
I don't like to give up.
Well, they don't, you know.
I really don't.
And like, you know, do you know the term, the sunk cost fallacy? So the sunk cost fallacy talks about people.
What are you saying? The sunk
cost.
Oh, sunk
Cost fallacy, right? So it's a term that's used.
Dirty.
I know, right? But it's the term used for people. It's the term people use. I say you got to behave on this show, honey. Sunk cost fallacy is the term when somebody has put in effort, money, investment of time, but they don't quit because they've done all of this stuff. However, they get to a certain point where it doesn't matter how much time and effort that you put in. It's just never going to work for you. Like Rudy, right? Rudy he worked his ass off. He wanted to be this football player. Didn't matter how much he worked on it. He was only going to play 10 seconds of a football game. And that's only because they were winning for as much as they were winning, right? But that's a perfect example of a sunk cost fallacy, is that some people want to just stay in something because they have put in the time and effort and the investment. So it's a tricky place to be, because
I almost stopped.
You almost stopped several times.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know,
I had to stop
the surgery,
yeah.
you know, because of the surgery and things like that. I mean, like the bounce back from that surgery was crazy too, because
2 years.
2 years. And they were like, oh, you know, you'll be back singing in like 6 months, and you were not back singing.
No, they didn't say 6 months. They said 6 weeks.
Yeah, there was something like that. Something crazy like that. And I was like,
which is why it was so alarming.
Yeah. And you were like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get my voice back, you know, but you kept at it. Right. And so I think that's one thing that, if you're thinking about imposter syndrome and you're thinking about sort of, you know, living this authentic life and how do you step into who you're supposed to be, I don't think it's one of these things that you can just think about and all of a sudden you're there, you know, or read about it or watch movies about it or study it. Like, I don't think it's one of those things. Like, I think it's the doing. And,
of course it's the doing.
Yeah. And putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations.
It's very rare for something to just happen to you. And it does. Like, that's how some famous people were discovered, like in a bank line or something like that. But
like, a lot of these people don't have sustainability, right, in the career, because also why people that win the lottery spend it all, because they don't feel like they deserve.
Win the lottery.
But that's the thing too. It's like maybe not, because you won't have a.
You've met me.
I know. But there will be a part of you that knows that you don't deserve it. In some capacity, you're going to know that you didn't deserve it. You just got lucky, right? It's psychologically.
What do you mean
speaking,
that I don't deserve it?
You don't deserve unless you.
I think I would be an excellent person to win a lottery, because I already know like places that I would give the money. Kids being one of them.
Granted, what I'm saying is you would probably get back to where you are mentally according to the dollar amount that you feel like you deserve to be at. Do you know? Do you understand what I'm saying? So for instance, that's why there's so many one-hit wonders.
Like a gazillionaire?
Yeah. But for me, right? Like,
I'm a good person. I just
of course you're a good person. But what I'm saying is, if you recorded a song and that song became famous, you would feel like, because of all of the work that you've done up to this point in that space, you would deserve to feel like you belong there, right? And I think that imposter syndrome also happens is because maybe somebody gets somewhere too quick and they don't understand. They don't have the scars. Yeah, they don't have the scars and the experience and the failures.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
To wear the badge of honor to go, yes, I deserve to be in this room, right? Because I think that there's a lot of people that when they get there too quick, they don't know how to handle it, right? Which is why a lot of people that get success early on don't necessarily make it, and there's no sustainability there because they didn't go through what they had to go through in order to know that they felt like they belonged there. So it just got deep real quick. So let's talk about
very careful with the words that you choose.
Let's talk about being a mama, right? And what that's what that's like, and how has that impacted your creativity? How has that impacted we'll talk about, let's just stick with creativity for now, right? Like, so how has being a mom affected like your creativity that you're bringing to, songs and, when you do acting and things like that?
Well, at the beginning, you're not doing any of it. So it very negatively impacts your creativity. Yeah. It just takes it all away. That's what they say about children. They just suck the life out of you. But it's true. It's a big difference between men and women, right? The men lose nothing and the women lose everything temporarily. They just do. They lose their beautiful bodies. They lose their hair. They lose their brain cells. It's all factual. They lose their sleep. They lose time to themselves. I mean, they gain a child, and it's really difficult in the beginning to see that as winning. At least for me, it was. I was like, this is not winning. But some women, man, are just like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm the luckiest person in the world. And I do feel very lucky now. Like, our daughter she's extraordinary. She's not extraordinary. She's extraordinary. Aria, that girl. Yes. She's a queen. She is. And I love that kid more than life itself. But in the beginning it was really difficult. And you can't go sing and act, and they need you literally. I breastfed. Some women don't. I did. I only made it for 5 months. Probably should have stopped at like 4 weeks. So that definitely like stifles the creativity. And then, you don't have as much time or energy or whatever. But you make it work. And the timing of having her, though, in the acting, I'm now seeing as a huge gift and was well-timed. I'm in a really interesting, I was talking about it last night. I'm in an interesting space with my whole acting career. She was born in 2019. And like COVID was in existence, but it wasn't like, yet. So thank goodness, because the whole family was there while I was laboring for all those hours. But like 6 months later,
Yeah.
like the world shut down. So there was no acting. There were no gigs. So we actually got the gift of time with our daughter.
Yeah.
So I didn't even really have to worry about it, right? Like I was going through all that stress of like, oh, like that's it, I'm out. And all these other women in my category are just going to soar ahead of me because, they're going to be going to all these auditions and I'm not going to be going to any of them. Well, it was kind of a gift because COVID hit and just the industry died. For what? Like, was it like 2 years? It was something
About
crazy.
a year.
It was longer than a year. I don't know.
Well, it felt like 2 years, but we were back to normal, like where people weren't wearing masks. Yeah, it was a couple of years.
Well, I mean, the acting, like Liz Coulon just went back to in-person auditions. It's 2024.
Yeah.
So the acting world has not adjusted like the rest of the world.
Well, AI and the SAG strike and all of that.
Well, right. So then I got busy again for a second once things started coming back after COVID. And then the strike happened. And it's just like, I don't feel like I can call myself an actor anymore. I can't tell you the last time I've done, like things for you, for Kent's Flowers.
Yeah.
And other projects. I've gotten very good at reading teleprompters. So there's that, but I don't consider that acting. I'm just a really good reader. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, he's hiring me because like I've got good stage presence. I'm aware of the camera and I know how to read. You know what I mean? Like it's that's not acting to me. So to me, I'm like, I haven't acted in a really long time. I feel like I cannot call myself an actor right now. And that's not an imposter syndrome. It's like, I'm not doing it. Therefore.
So if you got booked on a show, would you feel like you had imposter syndrome?
No. And here's why. It's really interesting. Last night, I was at ladies' night last night. And I'm in this really weird space about it. Like, for the first time since 2007, I don't have an agent. I could. I did submit myself, and I looked. I was like, when did I submitted myself to like 2 places? That was over 2 months ago. I never followed up. I never and that's so odd to me.
Yeah.
Because past Shauna would have been like, oh my God, I need to get an agent. Like, if I don't have an agent, I'm not going to get an audition. And if I don't get an audition, I'm never going to act again. And if I never act again, like the world's going to, like the sky's going to fall on my head, And I'm just like, I'll get one. Maybe I don't need one right now.
Right.
Like, I'm really busy with that band. I've got like all these gigs. I've got Aria is now in kindergarten and she really needs me because she really hates school. And, told me this morning, she's like, oh, is it school this morning? I said, yeah. She's like, oh, I can't go. I have strep throat. And I'm like, oh, so she really needs me right now. I'm like, maybe the universe is saying, don't worry about that right now.
Yeah.
And I have this sense of peace about it. I'm like, okay.
It's great.
Well, then I'm not going to worry about it right now. Like maybe I shouldn't be worrying about it right now. But if I got booked on something, I think that I would just like smash it because I'm in this space of
I don't care.
It's not that I don't care.
Well, it's a reverence.
I found my voice with acting a long time ago.
Right.
I don't doubt my capabilities. And I almost feel like I'm going to be an even better actor the next time I do it because I found my voice as a singer.
What does that mean? Explain that.
It just took me to another level. I have adult allergies. I never had allergies as a kid. And this past year, I'm like, I have allergies. And I'm starting to say Zyrtec every day. And I didn't take it today. You can hear it. When I do, like, none of this exists. And I'm like, oh my God, is this what people with allergies have felt like? Like they're a lot. Like my sister grew up with allergies. Like, I'm like, God, is this what she felt like? That's awful. Anyway, sidebar, because I keep clearing my throat and I'm all congested. I'm like, this sucks. Anyway, I have found my voice as a singer, and it has taken me to another level of like confidence, and another, like, again, because I feel so, it feels like another level of vulnerability, which is so important in acting. And to unlock that level of vulnerability through singing makes me feel really grounded to the earth. And that's a really important thing in acting. So I feel like in unlocking that key or that box or that stage in singing, I'm like, oh, damn. The next time I'm going to be good.
That's interesting that you said that.
Like, oh, shit.
It's interesting you said that vulnerability gave you the confidence when people don't really think that, right? Like they think vulnerability, they think weakness.
But vulnerability is
it's strength.
Maximum strength.
And that's, something that I don't really think about too much in terms of like, being vulnerable. I think you're always trying to, you don't, because you're always trying to, as a business owner and as, and as a head of the household, you feel like you have to just always know what the answers are. And you always need to,
but
posture.
That's impossible.
I understand. Oh, I get it. It's something, it's something that is not something that I'm going to, in terms of understanding that vulnerability is strength and being okay with that, because you don't need to know everything. I have this insatiable need to know everything. I have this insatiable, that's why I read books all the time. That's why I'm like constantly like, because like I feel like I need to know.
The people who write those books don't know everything.
No, I know. Everybody's trying to figure it out. No, I get it. They might be an expert in that little like microcosm of whatever it is that they're an expert in, right? And I was listening to TED Talks.
But are they? You know what I mean?
You're right.
Like, we call ourselves the experts.
That's true. I mean, I think it's true for the time. Saying. I think it's true for the time being. No, I get it. I get it. You're playing devil's advocate. But I think that to a certain extent, you're right.
Yeah.
Like just because it worked for you in the manner that it worked for you does not mean that it's going to work for me in that manner.
No.
Like you're going to share, you'll share your experience and you'll share your tactics and you'll share what it is that you do, but how I perceive it through the lens of my experiences is going to make it different.
Oh yeah.
Which is totally cool. Which is one of the things that's
all we can do is share our experiences, our history and our journey. And, maybe a smidge of information that I'm giving like serves as like one minute golden nugget for you, but
yeah,
maybe the rest of it is useless to you, or other, not you.
Yeah, for sure. Like if somebody's listening to this podcast right now and they're like, and the headline will be, imposter syndrome and
no, I don't want that to be the headline
or whatever the headline is, but when they're listening to it and they're going, how am I using this story and how can I apply it to my life? Right? Like how can I absorb what I just listened to into a way that can affect me in a positive way? And that's essentially like what I'm just trying to do in life in general, is just how can I create positive impact? how can I share information? How can I get other people to share their information and truth? And, you know, I appreciate you sharing, you know, your vulnerabilities today. But, you know, it's one of those things that you're really good at. You know, the EQ that you have is really good. But that's what I'm trying to get, right? Is like, how can I extract a story that if somebody's listening to it and they're going through it and they're like, man, I really want to get to there. Like, that's the destination, you know?
Yeah.
And what they don't understand is you're going to get through that. You're going to get to that destination by going through it.
You just have to do.
You have to do. Yeah. It's action. It's, you know, it's the tenacity and the perseverance to continue on. And I think the journey is what matters, not the destination, right? Like, you having gone through what you went through as a singer and you being on this side of it is, you know, it's such a rewarding experience.
It is. And, you know, no one else knows that. I mean, some people do.
Sure.
But
at the level that you've experienced it, nobody will know.
You will.
Yeah, sure. But even still, like, I didn't get the surgery. You know what I mean? Like, no. I went through it with you, but I didn't have surgery.
Talk about pain.
You know, I didn't have to write on a board for people to, like, you know.
Oh my gosh, that was the worst.
Yeah, you could not talk.
I wasn't allowed to speak. And I walked around with a whiteboard and I was like, oh man, when I would get upset,
I would just look away and she'd be
oh my gosh, and I would chase him. And I would write, and then I would race really fast, and I would write.
And I'd close my eyes.
I'm like,
but yeah, nobody's going to experience that the way you're experiencing it real time. And what a gift that is that you get to experience that.
Yeah. I remember telling Sarah Zogby that I was really sad that I thought I was never going to get to sing a lullaby to my baby. And she cried immediately when I said that because it hit her really hard.
Sure.
But I was like, I can't do it anymore.
And you sing to her every night.
Every night.
Which is really nice. So I would say, you know, to sort of wrap this up is to don't deprive yourself of the gift of actually going through it and experiencing that raw, you know, the hardships, you know, all of those things, because those are the things that create that person, right? And it'll eliminate the imposter syndrome, because as you're doing it, you'll feel like you deserve to be there, right? Like you are going to sing on TV. When is it?
I'm going to sing on TV.
You're going to sing on TV, right?
We'll be filming on Thursday. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
It's awful.
But it's such a cool thing.
I should plug Zyrtec. I should have brought a thing of Zyrtec. Zyrtec, sponsored by. And it's the chewables. Oh, God, I hate swallowing things. Don't. Yeah, so, and I've done this before with you on WWL, but this time, like, I'm the one getting interviewed. I'll be singing 2 out of the 3 songs. So we're filming Thursday, but it will air on WWL TV, Great Day, Louisiana, on Halloween. They are doing a Halloween music segment, and Dat Band will be on.
Yeah.
Singing 3 Halloween themed songs. That'll be exciting.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
And so, you know, but you would have major imposter syndrome had this been 5-6 years ago. You know what I mean? And I'm like, hey, we're going to go record. We're going to be shooting and you're going to be singing on the TV. You know, you would have like major, you'd have a meltdown. You would have done it.
I did do it. We did do this.
Not when you first started singing.
We did this like 6 years ago.
We did this.
Dat Band.
That wasn't 6 years ago.
Yeah, it was.
That was it 6?
Yeah, because I was pregnant. And I did not have a meltdown.
That was salsa royale. That was not tacos.
Well, it doesn't matter. We still did it.
Sure. But what I'm saying is you're
trying to make me have an imposter syndrome that I refuse to have.
I know. But my point is, had you been there
I did not
prematurely,
feel confident, if that's what you're getting at. That time. I was like, ooch.
whether some people call it imposter syndrome.
Ooch. I hope the camera is more focused on Armando. I did have those thoughts. Like, I didn't feel like I didn't deserve to be there. I just felt, well, it's just different in my mind. I don't know. I guess I just didn't feel good enough.
Yeah. Imposter syndrome. I mean, whatever you want to call it, like, whatever you want to call it. Like,
yeah, I really don't like that word.
That's probably why you don't. Yeah, that's why you don't say. I mean, imposter syndrome is just
it's like labeling things. Like I don't know. I'm not a labeler.
Non-confidence.
Not a labeler, because I feel like that puts you in a box. When you label something, it puts you in a box, and I don't like being put in a box. I'm not trying to be combative.
I don't think it's.
I just don't like being put in a box.
I hear you. I don't. I only use the term because it's something that people can use it to describe something that they're feeling that.
Yeah, but I'm good at using my words.
May or may not have a. Yeah, but
say how I feel.
Non-confidence, or embarrassment, or imposter syndrome, like mean different things, right? Like imposter syndrome.
Exactly. That's why I'm not saying I did not have imposter. No, I got you.
But imposter syndrome, kind of that whole thing,
right? But I wasn't feeling all of those things. Is my point.
Okay, valid.
You're saying it encompasses all of that. And I'm like, well, I wasn't feeling all of that.
All right.
That's why I'm like, I won't. And this is one of the reasons you love me, because I challenge you.
Tomato.
And it's fine.
Yeah. I think we're talking I think we're talking about the same thing.
I think we are. I just don't like
You just
labels.
don't like
I don't like being
labels.
put in a box.
That's fine.
You got to let this bird fly.
You do not. Nobody's.
Don't clip my wings.
Nobody's putting you in a box.
Nobody puts baby in a box.
Putting you in a box. But if you don't like the term, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. Whatever, look, at the end of the day, it's the feeling of not stepping into that role and owning it. Like essentially that's what it is.
I think that's why I don't like the label, because I was doing everything in my power to step into the role.
100%, but you didn't own it.
No, I know, but I can't say that it was imposter syndrome, because like I was like, I'm doing it.
But it was
I'm
a cycle.
Doing it,
wasn't
and I'm giving my all, and I did believe I deserved it. And I didn't think that I didn't deserve it.
I think psychologically, I think psychologically there was
disagree with you.
There was dissonance there, because
I don't agree.
Well, that's fine. You don't have to.
I don't.
I know. I'm just I'm gonna finish. Let me finish the thought.
Right? So I'm screwing up the podcast. I'm never gonna be.
You'll be back on episode 300.
We'll see.
No, that's fine. But what I'm saying is, to me, and
all this is gonna get cut out anyway, so it doesn't matter.
It is not. So imposter syndrome for me is this feeling of whether it's a feeling of you don't deserve it, whether it's non-confidence, whether it's, not being present, not owning that role, whatever it is, fully. To me, that's what that means, right? Like there's a disconnect between what you envision yourself to be, along with other people viewing you in that same light, right? Like it's one thing to envision yourself being a star quarterback for the New England Patriots, right? Like I can envision myself.
Could you?
Very, very much so, right? Like I can envision myself. I see it. I could, I can see it.
The Saints completely. Are having tryouts.
I know, right? But I can see myself. It is and if they were to put me in the game, right? Like there would be a disconnect. Even though I believe it, even though I could be, I could do all of I could work out for 6 months and I could do the drills and I can learn all the plays and I could do all of it. I could do all of it, right? And you put me in a game, there would be a disconnect because I would not, there would be something psychologically inside me, unless I was like gifted for that, right? Like if I was already gifted to be like a quarterback and maybe I had that gift from like years ago, right? Like there might be a hint of, oh yeah, this is where I'm meant to be, which is why you also sang when you were a kid and you were an entertainer, right? So it wasn't like completely foreign to you, right? I'm talking about somebody that's never like been on camera or somebody that's
no,
like,
I hear what you're saying,
you
but
would
to me, you're describing time and experience. Like everyone will feel that when they start a position in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like
That's all I'm saying.
Drew Brees probably felt like that his very first year in the NFL. Are you telling me Drew Brees had imposter syndrome?
Probably.
But that's my argument.
Some people did, some people didn't.
Like
Yeah.
I'm a gifted fucking.
Some people did.
I'm a gifted quarterback.
I agree. Some
and
people do. Some people
I just
don't.
needed to get comfortable, and I needed my field time.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that he would say, "Oh yes, I had imposter syndrome the first year." Like that's not.
He may, maybe not.
I think that's not everybody thinks that way is what I'm saying. I 100% understand what you're saying.
I'm not saying that people do. I'm not saying that even Drew Brees had imposter syndrome. There might be some players in the NFL that don't feel like they belong in the NFL and that they got there on some sort of luck. I think the chances of that are very slim because they worked their asses off to get there. And as we were talking in this podcast, that you work your ass off and you'll feel like you belong there, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's the long and the short of it is that through the work you create that persona that you step into and that you own, and you own your voice, you own your body, you own the mentality, you know it, right? And you don't have to call it imposter syndrome. You can call it whatever you can call it whatever it is that you want. But what I'm saying is you had imposter syndrome at the very beginning when you went to Bourbon Street. When you went to Bourbon Street, when you had sang, I'm not saying that it happened all the time. I'm saying that there were moments that you had it. You don't have to call it that. We could call it something else. But that feeling you did have. I was there. I saw it. I experienced it real time.
Sure, I had those feelings, but I would not call it that.
Okay, then don't call it that. We'll call it, you come up with a different word and we'll call it that.
Stage fright. I will call it. You can't say because you did not live my life with me. I had stage fright my entire life.
That's part of it, I guess. What's stage fright? What's the definition of stage fright?
That as soon as I would get on a stage, in front of people, my entire body would shake.
Lock up.
It wouldn't lock up. It would shake. It would tremble.
Right.
I purposefully, my dad has won the title of #1 whistler in the world twice in his life. And he would do these performances just throughout the city whistling. And I would purposefully go to these performances and sing a song with him to try and get over my stage fright. Like,
yeah,
I knew I had a great voice. I knew I was an excellent actor and excellent performer. Mm-hmm. But there was something about singing, like my body would tremble. But I would do it.
And there was a singing.
And I would force myself
this was singing,
to do
though,
it.
Right? Do you have that problem now?
No.
You don't
I
tremble?
still feel very vulnerable.
Sure. But do you have stage fright?
No.
Okay. So my point is, right?
That I worked really hard to get over my stage fright.
That you worked really,
and I did what I had to do.
I think the stage fright
to get
eliminated
over
itself because of the work that you did. It wasn't.
Yes, because of the time and the dedication that I put in.
So we're talking about the same thing.
I never once felt like I didn't deserve to be there. And that is a big key of what you were saying is involved in imposter syndrome. I never felt like I didn't deserve to be there.
I could argue that you felt it. You just didn't know how to describe it.
Well, I can argue that you're not me and you have no idea what I felt.
Too. You're right. Very cool. And on that note,
I'm never getting invited back on this podcast.
No, you are. And on that note,
but this is why we're married.
And that's why we're married. It's good. It's a good.
We're married because I challenge him and he challenges me.
That's true.
Next time I'm going to take Zyrtec. But there's not going to be a next time because
tell them where they can find you. Tell them where they can find you, honey. Tell them where they can find you.
Not on this podcast anymore.
Tell them where they can find you.
I'm on Instagram.
Follow her.
Shauna_Rappold, as well as Facebook.
There you go. I really do appreciate you coming.
He doesn't.
It's 200. Yes, I do.
This will never happen again.
I do. I love the banter, and I appreciate it. And I'll see you later. And we'll have a discussion. Just kidding. And that was Spaghetti on the Wall, brought to you by Leduc Entertainment. For all of your video production needs, podcasts, we got you. Keep listening, keep watching. We really appreciate you guys listening to the show. 200 episodes. It's been a wild ride. And things are happening. More episodes to come. I can't wait. Thank you guys so much.